Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your midweek edition of the Pocket Change Market Report, brought to you by Sean from BlueRidgeSilverhound. I want to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in to check out what coins have been selling here recently. So this is, of course, for January 18th. We are fast tracking our way through 2023 already. As I had reported about a week ago, we're already beginning to see new 2023 coins hit circulation. We started out with nickels, dimes, and then we have both versions of the Bessie Coleman quarter, being the P&D mint, that are already available out there in the wild right now. So that's gonna kind of change the landscape a little bit going forward as we begin to see new coins come out. However, in this video, we're going to talk about a couple of the coins that made a pretty big impact in 2022 and showing you guys where those coins sit at today, given the fact that we are in a new year. Most folks traditionally forget about the coins from the last year, and that's when we begin to see a little bit of a drop-off in not only desirability, but the price of those coins. But I'm going to keep you guys updated because that's what I do best. So we have approximately 24 hours worth of market data that we're going to take a look at. A lot of good stuff as usual. A lot of new coins and currency that I haven't personally seen myself. It's always something new, which is cool. I like that. I like the variety, the newness of the hobby and what you can find out there today. Another thing to point out, no coins are graded in this video. That's generally an unneeded expense when it comes to reselling these. Errors and varieties simply just sell for themselves, which is good news. You don't have to spend the $30 to $60 to send these off to a grading company like PCGS or NGC. Just go ahead and pocket that money as you sell these, and you'll do really well. Even some of the big time varieties that you'll see in this video are not even graded, and it's probably one of the most blasphemous things that you could possibly ever imagine. Why isn't that coin not graded? You know, that's something that a lot of folks would ask themselves. But as you can see, it's just not necessary. If you know what you're looking for, you're going to do really okay reselling these. So I figure without further waiting around, let's go ahead and jump right into this list. It should be relatively quick here today, so that way you guys can get back about your Wednesday. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We're going to start it off with this 1965 Washington quarter. Pretty nice example of a curved clip and a great example of one that has the Blakesley effect. And that's why I threw this one up here, in spite of the fact that it does have some of that damage on the front of the coin. We call it the Ring of Death, but it's simply just machine damage from when the coins were rolled in paper, either through the Federal Reserve Bank or an armored truck company. It's unfortunate, but we do see it on occasion. If the coin is at the end of the roll, it's more than likely going to be subjected to some of this damage that you see here on this one. But yeah, just a decent example, I would say. Kind of a good way to kick things off, but this is also a little bit of a lesson. A coin that does exhibit some damage isn't completely worthless, right? If you broke, a coffee mug, obviously you're going to have to throw that thing away. All right, it has no more use, it has no more value. With coins, it's a little bit different, all right? There's still going to be people that want a more bargain version of that particular error or variety, so they'll compromise and buy one that has an issue on it, like this one here. $12.71 is what this one sold for. Yeah, not a ton of money, but considering that it is a curved clip, it's not particularly an expensive coin to begin with. The next one that we have here is our first piece of currency. It's a much older 1950 D. I'll just say Denver. It's not Denver. It's just the series letter on there. It's a $5 Fed Reserve note. Yeah, sure. It's very, it's quite old. It's 73 years old as of today. This one is just miscut. Not misaligned. That's not a misaligned note because the back of the note is also off center as well. When everything all the prints are off center, it means it was miscut. So a pretty good catch right here. This one is also in pretty nice shape. I would say technical grade is probably like an XF45. But if you do come across these at a coin shop and they're not really keen on selling it as an error, I know a lot of coin shops and their proprietors that don't really respect this kind of error. This would be a good reason for you to pick it up and then resell it or put it into your collection at a very cheap cost. This one ended up selling for $57.38 with 16 bids, and that's a good way to move your note and make a few dollars in the process. Now, here's the one coin I was probably alluding to. I don't know, maybe. But you ask a lot of purists in the hobby, why would you not grade an FS101 1955 double the die obverse Lincoln Wheat set? Then you're going to get a lot of people that will ask that very question. But you're also going to get this whole other group of folks that'll tell you it's okay, right? It's a coin that is easily identifiable, not only as the variety, but to make sure that you're actually purchasing a true blue, legitimate example, which, by the way, this coin is heavily counterfeited, and you could spot those 10 miles away. It's that easy. But this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is far from the perfect coin. It looks like it might have been cleaned at one point, and I think we're seeing a lot of that on the obverse of the coin. So just the overall kind of shininess to the highlighted areas on the obverse where the light hits the front of Lincoln's face is a little bit too unnatural to me, along with the kind of like the patchy coloration of the copper in the fields on both sides of the coin leads me to believe that this one may not straight grade. All right, it might come back details cleaned. You can even see a little bit of the fine hairlines on the bottom left-hand side of the coin, right on Lincoln's jacket and into the fields under Liberty. So that's another telltale sign on this one that it is not going to straight grade. Of course, that does affect value to a little bit of an extent, although this is one of the more recognizable kind of keys in the series. People are going to pay up to own this anyways. This one ended up selling for $2,038, and that's with 41 bids. So there was quite a bit of activity. People know what they're looking for. Folks are very, very familiar with this variety, as it is one of the biggest U.S. coins of this era. Pretty cool one here. Actually, this one's really nice. 2017 A $5 bill, which features a binary repeating serial number. It's one of your fancies to be on the lookout for. So you got 3 5s and a 3, and it repeats over 3 5s and a 3. It is, you look for things like this. Any sort of interesting, neat serial number pattern is going to be desirable, because a lot of people collect these not only by the fancy serial number that they are, but, maybe there's some sort of symbolic meaning with the numbers. Like, for example, people collect 7s and 8s because it's a lucky number, not only in our culture, but other cultures as well. So, there's different rhymes or reasons as to why the notes sell, but ultimately, fancy serial number collecting today has never been more embraced than it has been. There's even dedicated Facebook groups to fancy and cool serial number collecting, and I'm glad to see that kind of health in the marketplace lead to some just amazing interest. Like this one right here ended up selling for $49.83 with 16 bids, which is almost 10 times face value, just for a binary repeater, which is one of the more, I guess, easier to find types out there, but really cool note. I like this one. Just to let you know, the note does have circulation wear. It's got an identifiable fold right down the middle, so it's not a crispy gem that you would find out of a fresh BEP strap or brick. This one really did circulate around at various restaurants and stores. I saw this one and I'm like, man, that thing's chunky. 1998 P Washington quarter. This thing is broad struck, and it's got nice big broad shoulders to it. It's a very well, perfectly centered broad strike. You don't see them like this too often. Just a really good piece here. It's been circulated. You could tell. Strangely enough, this very coin right here had passed through many hands before it was finally found by a keen-eyed collector. So this one right here, really surprising sale, ended up as a $54.25 final auction price. Not too bad, considering that, some would say it's quite minor on the broad strike error type, but still a good coin to be on the lookout for. And as always, I tell you guys, look out for some pretty neat varieties in your silver as well. Morgans and peace dollars are a breeding ground for some of the most amazing VAM varieties. If you need more information on what VAMs are, go to vamworld.com. It's one of my favorite websites. I bookmark it, and you guys should too if you haven't done so already. But this is one of the top VAMs right here. 1882 O over S over mint mark Morgan dollar. This one looks like it was probably scrap silver fodder at one point. You could very well pick this coin up for about $25 today if you were just scouring through the melt bin. But take a look at that. You can see the inner kind of curl of the S inside that O mint mark of New Orleans. Again, this is a very easy one to look out for. I found quite a few of these, and I've sold them for approximately 2 to 3 times what I originally paid for them, because that's just what the market is. Of course, the more nicer condition it is, the more that you'll receive for them. This coin right here is in actually pretty good condition. It's borderline XFAU, and that's cool. That means collectors would want something like this that is generally problem free. This one ended up selling for $78 with 11 bids. The next one that we have here was a coin that I kept my eye on. This was actually a pretty nice error that was talked about on our live coin Q&A show about a week and a half ago, and it finally ended at auction. And let's go ahead and talk about it. It's a 2019 Lincoln Shield cent. It is indeed a Philadelphia struck example, and this one has a pretty substantial retained cud die break, as you can see right here. You can see the crack going through the rim, into the D and God, through the hairline of good old Mr. Abe, and then back out again between the E and T on the right side there. But this, some would say this would eventually turn into a full-blown cud if it ever gets that far. I doubt it did, because we haven't heard of a full cud on these 2019s. So this is a pretty remarkable one here. It was discovered probably 3-4 months ago in the community. Very few of them showed up on auctions. This one right here was relatively fresh. Ended up selling for $112.50 with 26 bids. And it's one that's going to be easy to miss. Make sure you're looking at all your 2019s, because this little gem might be in there waiting. Here's just a decent looking 1975D Lincoln Memorial cent. It's off center by about 15%, nothing too crazy. Lots of fingerprinting, and you can tell that the fingerprinting, the oils from the fingerprints, actually has transformed into unsightly carbon spots, which in a way is a type of corrosion on the coin. You can't get rid of it. You can't remove it without damaging the coin, but this is a kind of like premium example of what would happen if you inadvertently get your fingers on your coins. You got to make sure you're holding them from the edge. Wear gloves if you must, but over time, this is what this will look like. This coin here ended up selling for $18. This might even be a key for some of those off-center struck date sets out there. A pretty minor one here. This is one that's not too crazy or spectacular, but it's worth noting. 1945 piece silver wartime nickel. This one was actually struck on a defective planchet. You can actually see the crack in the planchet here to the left of Liberty on the reverse, this is what it looks like. So there's a little fissure crack, kind of like maybe a planchet that came from the very end of the strip at the time when it was punched out. So usually those particular planchets are of lesser quality. They'll have maybe clips on them, ragged clips, things like that. This one, quite minor. However, it managed to sell for $43.94 here sometime today. And another good one here. I forgot that this one even existed. This one's on the Harper's Ferry quarter. Make sure you're looking at all your Philadelphias. 2016 is the date. But this one has a really cool, long, thin rim cut. You can see it right here a lot better. It's this raised anomaly that goes probably 25% of the way through the rim on this coin. At first glance, it's easy to miss because it's relegated onto the rim, and it actually looks like part of the rim. If you're not being careful, you could easily toss this out. This one sold for $10.60. And here's one that we've talked about on a few occasions here recently. I would say the last 2-3 weeks we talked about this particular error about 3 or 4 times. But to some people, this is going to look like a damaged coin. Like the reverse of the thing looks like road rash because it's got those lines like it was scraped across the asphalt. But what we actually have here is a 1970D Lincoln Memorial cent that was struck on a split planchet. So the planchet had split prior to the strike occurring. And wow, yeah. The coin, the planchet, is actually very thin. It's probably half as thin as what it should be. I think the seller had mentioned this thing weighed like 1.78 grams or something like that. And as you guys know, the normal weight of these coins is 3.11. So it's almost half, not quite there. So it is a lot thinner. And because of that, you're going to get some very weak strike on this one. It's not going to bring up all the details as it should. Coin obviously has circulated a little bit. It's probably stumped enough people that they just want to get rid of it and, just take it out for just being worth a penny. This one sold for $40.60. So here's one of those 2022 coins that got a little bit of action here last year. I call this one the... everybody's got their own little cute little nickname for this. I call this one the Superman eye rays strike through. It's pretty cool. I mean, you could probably argue, for a couple different nicknames for this one, but yeah, it's like Superman or Cyclops from X-Men shooting out, their rays. But this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a strike through. Could possibly be a field restricted type. Although I do not see any feeder finger scrapes at all on the front of the coin. Usually those go hand in hand. But yeah, this is a type of error anomaly that was quite prevalent on a lot of 2022 coins. As a matter of fact, the Jefferson Nickels of last year was kind of like a late year, kind of addition to some of the more phenomenal strike throughs that we've seen. Back in November and early December, there were quite a few of them that were discovered in change, and folks are making anywhere from $30 to $60 a piece for them. So where does this one end up at? This one ended up selling for $25.99. The coin is in fantastic shape as well. Another good one here, 1972. This is a Denver candy half dollar. It looks like it's seen quite a bit of wear and circulation over the years. But this one's missing the FG initials. This one is affectionately referred to as the FS901 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. And always a very reliable coin to look out for. It's worth a lot more than silver, believe it or not. So this coin compared to a 90% silver, it's over 2x what a 90% silver half goes for today. This one sold for $15.08. Do not toss these out, especially you folks there that are half dollar roll hunters. This is a good one. There's a few other dates as well, 1982p, 83p. There's even, I believe, 1971. That's also another good one to look out for. So be on the lookout for these. They're actually worth money, and you could sell it and then buy your silver. And that's how you could kind of take advantage of that. We do have a couple of double struck coins on the list today. This is an undated type. The seller had mentioned that it was a 1996. It looks like there's partially a 6 in there. I'm just going to go and say that, yeah, that's the case. The secondary strike of the second strike is actually about 70% off center, as you can see there. It is a copper-coated zinc-in. So, if you do have one of these and you come across them in a collection or something, keep in mind that this is going to be a storage nightmare, especially if you're living in a very moisture-rich area, a lot of humidity. These things over time will begin to crumble, as they do, all right? But this one right here is sold for $26 with 15 bids. This seller also had a few very nice broad struck and off-center struck Jefferson nickels. How about this 1997P? This one is approximately 25% off-center. Beautiful high-end mid-state version of this coin. This one sold for $35 with 15 bids. And they also had the 1998 P. This is actually a Philadelphia minted coin, not a Denver, although it does look like a Denver mint. There is a bottom bar to the P. Believe it or not, I actually looked at it up close. Much like the previous one, this one's off center about 25 to 30%. Good looking, very nice high-end piece here, probably made for a date set along the way. This one sold for $36 with 16 bids. And then finally from the same seller, and the seller had a number of these, so I only highlighted a few of them. 1998 P. Jefferson nickel. This one's got a relatively centered broad strike, probably as big as a $0.25. And it's in very nice shape as well. It's even got what looks to be full steps on the reverse, which is really nice. This one right here is sold for $29, and that's with 14 bids. Here's our other double struck coin. This one much more impressive because you have a full other readable date on that secondary strike that is off-center by about 80-85%. It's quite impressive considering that this coin has circulated. Look how worn the high spots are on the obverse of this thing, and you'll understand, like, how did this thing even circulate? And nobody really paid attention to it. Oh man, that's like one of life's greatest mysteries, and it's even more of a mystery to coin collectors and just enthusiasts in general of this sort of thing. So this one right here sold for a whopping $100.50, worth every penny, or worth every 2 pennies in this case. All right, well, here's our next little scrappy-dappy Morgan dollar. I mean, it's low enough condition that, again, this is something that you could probably cherry out of scrap silver at your local coin shop or show. 1886 O Morgan. It has rotated die errors. The rotation is about 45 degrees counterclockwise on this one. And I also want to mention that there's some strike-through, whether it's like grease or something, on the reverse above the word 1 in $1. So it's right on that left star and the word 1. And I actually just caught a glimpse of it. I think this thing is nuts. And congrats to the person that found it. This one ended up selling for $157.50 with 3 bids. Here's a very, very nice 2-coin lot. It's actually large coin curved clips. Which are desirable due to the fact that they're large coins. Usually we see these type of errors on much smaller coins like Lincoln cents and dimes and nickels and things like that. So on the much bigger coins, there's going to be more people that are interested in these. So we have a 1971 Ike dollar and an 84 D Candy half dollar. And yes, they do have Blakesley effects on them, which are really, really, really important in determining if a clip is legitimate on there. So this 2-coin lot sold for $55.60. Could it be an opportunity to buy this and resell it for much more money? It's a possibility. You're probably not going to 2x your money, but you might come close. Now here's our next just mystery anomaly on the 1997 Lincoln Memorial Cent. I like to throw one of these doozies in there every so often. So the coin itself was struck slightly off center, or maybe it was broad struck by a little bit. Okay, kind of hard to tell from here. But it's also got an indent and a little bit of a brockage as well. A little mirrored brockage action. You actually see the word cent in reverse on there, and that's why they call it a mirrored brockage, because the coin that overlapped us during the strike was already struck to begin with, and that's why you have that secondary mirrored impression on that indent area. So this one right here, nice to see, ungraded. This is the type of thing that people are really quick to send off to a grading company, and it's really not necessary. This one sold for $74.89. How about a really exceptional looking 1978 Washington quarter? This bad boy is about as nice and minty as you could possibly ever imagine for a coin of this date. And it's off center by about 20%. Let's not forget that. It's a P-minted 78, which is important because, we could see the whole date and the area in which a mint mark would exist. That's what really matters with collectors. So this one right here ended up selling for $68.88. Just a very, very beautiful piece. And there's a little side-by-side showing the size of that 78 quarter to a regular quarter. So it's slightly bigger. Well, I think this is our one old lonely cud from the last 12 to 24 hours. And this time on 1974 Lincoln Memorial Cent. There's bound to be one because there's generally, about maybe half a dozen or so that sell every day. And that's how frequently these are being found. So always be on the lookout. Cuds are kings in today's error market world. And this one right here, you can see the die break right above Lincoln's head. So a piece of the die had fallen out. So when the striking occurs and you still have that same hammer die that's affixed to the press with a piece of die that's gone, that's where all the metal flow is going to go into, thereby leading to a kind of blob right on the coin. So this one sold for $58. Not too bad, considering it has quite a bit of carbon spotting. Or oxidation, rather. So here was the other big error from last year. However, I'm going to say that this one had seen a little bit of active duty in today's commerce. This is not a beauty queen by any stretch. You look at this coin and you're going to see circulation wear. You're going to see all these little nicks and ticks and stuff like that. Even a little bit of weird stain on the reverse. Don't know what it is. Could be Dad's, Pepsi Cola or something that was sitting in that, I guess, cup holder, and this thing might have been underneath it. You just never know. So this one right here has the retained cud right above Washington's head on the obverse. On the reverse, it has the very, very early progression of what's going to end up being the reverse retained cud. Although I wouldn't go and say that this one is the reverse retained cud, but just the one single-sided type. So where are we at? We know these things used to sell for like $200 to $300. This one, it's circulated and it shows. This one ended up bringing home $133.50, and that's with 5 bids. So, a pretty big departure from the normal of what these have sold for. So pretty nice. And we're going to end it off on this $1 bill. This is a 2003 $1 bill. So it's relatively new, okay? You can still find 2003s out there in today's circulating paper money world. This one has an obvious and apparent misaligned overprint. You can see it shifted well to the left. So all your serial numbers, your district seals, those quad corner numbers, the 4 5s on there are all shifted to the left. Again, something to look out for. You can even find these on brand new 2017 notes. There have been a few of them that I've documented and talked about. But this is a good one. Another good one, guys. And there's a few little wrinkles in there. For the most part, it was probably found as new, and then maybe got shoved into a wallet not really thinking about what it is, and then someone pulled it out of their wallet and saw it like, holy crap, look at this thing. So yeah, what did this one sell for? Surprisingly, $95.48 with 8 bids. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I would sell this for that amount of money all day long. And that's what it takes, guys, is to recognize those particular pieces as being valuable and just go ahead and sell them. So that's going to go ahead and do it. That's your midweek edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. I want to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in today. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. As always, a pleasure. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my content, this video, and the channel if you haven't done so already. Come check me out on TikTok as well, at Blue Ridge Silverhound. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys have a happy hunt, and I will see you on the next coin video. So long.